One final day of play here, the PGL studios in Bucharest. It is, of course, the European Minor, the qualifier for the major qualifier that has been seen and stated by the community to be the most stacked qualifier to date. Things most definitely are only going to get more competitive as time does go on and we venture into that major qualifier. But first, we have to find out who is going to be the final team that is crowned champion here. First, it was Hellraisers who've got themselves a spot in the grand final. So they are locked in for the major qualifier and instead are just going to be waiting for that 30,000 battle that will be going on, of course, given the 50,000 prize pool. But to join them, gentlemen, there are three names left at the tip of our tongue. Let me introduce the gents joining me. It's Halvor Vendetta Gurustol, and now you told me about this. I've been saying Yuna, but it's Yuna. Yorna, Lepanen, of course known as Natu. So, my bad pronunciation aside, gentlemen, we do have three names left, and I can't help but feel it may definitely have not been a non-bumpy road, definitely not been a smooth journey, but these kind of four names, Hellraisers plus the three remaining, Space Soldiers, Epsilon and Godsent, were kind of the four we would have outlined as hot favorites. Wouldn't you say, Halvor?
I will say that there's one outlier, and that's Epsilon. I did not expect them to do as well as they did, simply because they came here with, pretty much not knowing who they were going to play with, because obviously Disco Dublin ended up going to Fnatic. And I thought that would have a bigger impact on them than what it has shown to actually have. So been pleasantly surprised by the Swedes. But that would be the one surprise. Other than that, I think we've kind of ended up with who we expected.
And Swedes is kind of a recurring theme.
Yeah, it's testament to their individual skill, their ability to adapt to kind of a very uncomfortable situation. It's never easy to come into a tournament with losing a player because you kind of have to fiddle around with the roles. Obviously, you're going to put Kala into a lot of the positions that Disco Dublin was playing, but then it might not work in others. So it's definitely not the kind of a task you want to have going into a minor.
Certainly not. And the second day of play here in the minor was even more chaotic than the first. So before we try and explain exactly what happened, there's no better way than showing you. So let's take a quick recap of what happened day 2 here in Bucharest.
Draken, the last man alive at 12 HP, 2 kills for him. So hold on now. He's also got flushed down very, very low at 22 HP and a minute on the clock. They know where he is though, and it's going to be Electro that comes up with a explode out here, but that doesn't mean it's going to be secretive. We've already got quite a few players from Epsilon here ready to hold it back. There's the first kill from Godsent though, and the rest are going to move in, but they've got to handle Kala here. He's ripping them to shreds currently from behind this fourth, but he's going to continue them all down right now if they want to have any hope of winning this one. There's JW with the kill. They do see the trade coming in, and with 1 second left, they're actually going to take down JW after the timer expires, I do believe.
It's almost the other way around.
We can see Draken again. Look at it. Just push it up. Like it's not even anything fantastic about it. Spins around the 180 and he shuts down JW. go up close in person. Xantares didn't even have his gun out there. That's a big mistake. Bondic flipping one off from up on top there too. And now Stico lining up one. He's got the second one. Xantares, he's got to answer the call again. He's got to pick up another 3K if he wants to keep his team in the match. Thankfully for him, one of his opponents is at 1 HP. 0 though, waiting on the outside here. He spotted him, gets that kill, going for the second now. He's trying to chase it, but he's got to be careful not to overexpose himself. Zero's taking a hit. This is basically an even battle right now, but Xantares closing it out. Again, 3K from him, and it goes up to 11-15. Most of their forces out over here towards the site. You see that Angel, he's able to spot a lot of that. Taking out 1, 2, 3 players. Accuracy on point for Angel. This may be a really fast ace from him. With fast repeats, he's certainly got the angle to work for it now. The name goes in and with the assist from Bondic. And readjusts just in time at 8 HP, but then Schneider moves and rips through 1, 2, 3 players. Schneider with a huge roster. Manages to pick up those 2 kills. Stico, though, out into the open, down to 4 HP, but he's found the kill onto Schneider. Hiding in the smoke here, too. They know he's hiding somewhere around here, but they haven't detected it. It's so low in the timer. Deadbox isn't even peeked out yet. They don't have enough time. He's going to jump onto it. The spray's coming. Lekko's got that kill, but oh no! They can't find him. It's going to come down to him, and Stico gets the knife.
Push coming in. Bondic once again in this low position. 1, 2, 3, 4 from Bondic. Just celebrates.
Celebrations for Hellraisers and quite the opposite for Godsent. Looking dismayed as they left the studio yesterday, will be forced to fight the winner of our next game coming up, but we won't be talking about that just yet. We can actually instead summon exactly who did start this journey. There were 8 teams who were looking to get a spot at that major qualifier, and now, as I stated before, just 3 are left in the battle for it. Hellraisers locked in, and Godsent, Space Soldiers, and Epsilon are going to be looking for that spot now. Now, I keep describing it as a battle for the major qualifier spot. Admittedly, there is still a first and a second, but gents, I mean, that's the primary goal here. It's getting to that stacked qualifier, right?
Yeah, basically signing up for Hell Week.
Yeah,
later on. That's pretty much what you're doing at this point. But yeah, that is the grand prize.
It's scary.
It is. It's weird to think about the fact that, especially with kind of how big of a slog it is for a lot of these teams to actually get to this point and just getting into this tournament. The fact that you're just rewarded with even worse situation. Yeah, it's just like more of the same. So
you kind of just have to take it as like an individual tournament, like a circuit kind of a thing towards some that big goal being the major.
Yeah. I mean, the major seems like it can be elusive for some of these teams, but then you watch them play and you realize that, all the way down the CS ladder, we have got some real talent, some quality, and I'm looking forward to seeing if we get any more of that displayed today. Now, with this kind of the bracket and the way it's played out so far, we have seen Epsilon have that incredibly, how do we describe it, ridiculous a game yesterday versus Godsent. And I think I just want to quickly remind the viewers at home what we did witness there. Natu, I've had you do this before, but I'm going to have you do it again. Epsilon Godsent could so easily have had like 5 different outcomes. Yeah. Like if 1 or 2 rounds hadn't played differently.
Yeah, exactly. It could have easily been a 2-on after Cash. It was I think it was a 2-on-3 with Epsilon on the B-bomb site, and they still managed to somehow win it, taking it overtime, and they scraped through it, and then first half 13-2 Mirage CT. You think this is over? Like Godsent looked totally beat. They were disconnected from the game completely, nothing's going their way, and somehow they pull it back on the City side for another overtime. So it's, I don't even know what to say really, to be honest. It's one of those things like you can, like there's it's all psychological from how it looks like, right? And even in the Mirage game, it was just a matter of time. I thought like that it should have been Epsilon's game.
And you know what? It's like when we bring up the brackets, which we can do now, we always say it doesn't tell the whole story. It definitely doesn't for that top game. So you'll see the 2-1 there, but know that Epsilon and Godsent were both fractions and seconds away from it being a much more different and much more easy to complete game. Space Soldiers, who you will be seeing first today, did play versus Hellraisers, actually. It was the Razors versus the Soldiers. How did this one play out in your mind?
Well, it was probably the the least weird game of the day.
Yeah,
in that
nice.
sense.
Yeah,
It was like you actually had one team kind of showing that they were better at that point in time than the other, and there weren't any shenanigans that went down to the end to decide everything like we saw in pretty much every other game. But that was Hellraisers. They talked about it on day one, the fact that they actually had to get their shit sorted if they wanted to actually qualify for the offline qualifiers. And they just showcased that more or less. We saw Space Soldiers having similar issues that they had in their first couple of games, especially we're talking about their cobblestone and how we were looking for them to improve now that they were going to be given the space they needed to let their defaults work and everything. But they still couldn't make piece the puzzle together.
No, not just yet. Anyway, we can look at how games are going to be played. Today is our final day of play, and so we have to answer all of the questions that do leave outstanding. Who is going to be first eliminated? It is the lower bracket now. Who is going to make it to the grand final? Who's going to win the grand final? These are all questions we can provide over the course of the day. It starts with Epsilon Space Soldiers, not forgetting that every game now, you win, you survive, you lose, you're going home. Godsent versus, I was about to say TBA, bless my soul. Of course, we'll be playing versus the winner of that Epsilon Space Soldiers game, and then it does work its way down, all the way, trickle down to Hellraisers having an adversary later on today. That's going to be about 5:30 for another best of 3. So we could see a whole 9 maps of spectacular CSGO if everything does go to plan. And it didn't go to plan for Godsent. The last game that we haven't quite touched on was, of course, the one we ended on, Hellraisers versus Godsent, leaving a lot to the imagination, really, in regards to Godsent, a team that we have been unable to really pinpoint here on the desk. And I think actually we ended the day yesterday, Natu, by praising Hellraisers as opposed to criticizing Godsent.
Yes, very positive. We've been critics of their T sides a lot of the time, apart from Nuke being the anomaly there.
Yeah.
And this time they really showed it, especially on Train. I really liked the way they played T side. They definitely had some plans, and their execution was on point. Their timing was on point. They made it uncomfortable for Godsent a lot of the times, and they survived the first half as well, because that was a really, really hard CT side for them. Right. So back and forth trading rounds, it's never easy for CTs because you're going to be playing with low economy all the time, on the verge of being double ecoing. So, yeah, definitely a game that really showed some great resilience from Hellraisers.
And as you said, Train, I suddenly get flashbacks to Sticko and a knife and Pronex on top of it, which I, of course, have described very vividly yesterday, so let's leave it at that. All right, so before we start talking about this first series, we've been talking about Space Soldiers, we've been talking about Epsilon, but let's meet them. First, let's start with the Turkish side, Space Soldiers, who are looking to make an impact here today. A lot of grit, a lot of determination, and a lot of close calls. Space Soldiers have both got by through the skin of their teeth, but also lost out by the skin of their teeth as well. It is kind of a river that flows both ways for the Turkish side. And at the analyst desk, you guys have been both critical and pleasantly surprised. I mean, these guys basically give us everything we need on a desk, Halvor.
Yeah, they kind of do. That they, you can tell that they're a team that actually tries to, puts in a lot of work really on their game and actually makes efforts and strides to improve on their mistakes. Sadly for them, yesterday they didn't really have the necessary time to actually iron out all of the bumps and the road really that they had on, especially Cobble. I think that was the biggest kind of thing that struck out to me, or stuck out. And that was the fact that they really need, again, we talk about plan A's, B's, and C's, and that was really the fact that Space Soldiers didn't really seem to have one when their defaults got shut down on their T sides. And at that point, you leave a lot to be desired, really, if you try to make it through and try to qualify for an offline qualifier like they are. And I kind of expected more out of them in that sense, because they have been progressing so steadily on every map and just been doing better and better for each and every tournament they go to.
Now, one of those tournaments was Asus ROG. Now, where did they place in that? Was that the win?
That was
first.
the win.
And
that
they
was
actually,
the win.
Guess who they beat? In the finals.
Was it Epsilon by any chance?
It was.
Oh, it's almost like I was leading you down that path. Hey. Either way, before we do start talking about the Swedes, we have to hear what some of the players had to say themselves. We took an opportunity to talk to Tugux ahead of this match. It's going to be intriguing to know what he had to say.
It's really important for us as we try to make a bigger scene in Turkey, to develop a bigger scene.
And now Xantares is going to answer the call again. He's got to pick up another 3K if he wants to keep his team in the match. Thankfully for him, one of his opponents is at 1 HP. 0 though, waiting on the outside here. He spotted him, gets that kill, going for the second now. He's trying to chase it, but he's got to be careful not to overexpose himself. Zero's taking a hit. This is basically an even battle right now, but Xantares closing it out. Again, 3K from him, and it goes up to 11-15.
Today we had kind of problems against Alternate, but we won 16-14. Then against LTLC it was easier. Again on cover, we won 16-11. We got, I think, 11 T rounds. I knew how they play. That made it really easy to play against them. Then we had problems to close it out, but it worked then later. Today the difference was we had a different game plan, which didn't work out at all. We couldn't do what we talked about, so that was the main issue. We have a really good chemistry in our team because we have 2 entry fraggers. Well, I'd say normally we have 1 entry fragger and that's Pass, and we have a sick individual performer who's Xantares, and everyone knows him anyway. Our AWP is Despi, and I'm the in-game leader, and Engin is more kind of a support role in our team. And it kind of works out somehow. We get along really good with each other, and yeah, that shows in our performances as well. At the beginning, we had problems with our previous lineup. Since we changed the lineup, it got much better than that. Sometimes it happens that we are screaming, but we just try to stay calm, and someone is always there with saying, "Just guys, be calm. We can still win and stuff." So this helps a lot. I would say that Godsend will win the upper bracket final, so they will win the grand final. So we will play against Epsilon, and yeah, and the winner will play against Hellraiders. Actually, we played against Epsilon in Finland in the final where we won 2-0 in a best of 3 as well. But they have a different lineup now again. We will just try to connect, and we will do our best. I would say that Godsend will win the upper bracket final, so they will win the grand final. So we will play against Epsilon, and yeah, and the winner will play against Hellraiders.
Tugux there, covering a lot of the bases that we perhaps didn't. It's good to understand exactly how they approached that game yesterday, how they were expecting to see the brackets play out as well. Now, Natu, there was one person on our desk, it was yourself, who was, there was one kind of point he made in that interview that really kind of, didn't trigger you, but had your eyebrows raised.
Yeah, it didn't trigger me, but it's just to point out that a lot of teams, when they go into a game and they think of a specific game plan, if it's not something they're really practiced and used to doing, you see a lot of the times the teams struggle. If it's not one of the top 8 teams in the world, especially, and that just comes down to the fact that a lot of players need that structure and have to need that practice behind them to be feeling comfortable to really commit to the things that they're doing. Right. And then if they have even a split second of a doubt in their mind of the things they're doing, it has a chaotic effect to the whole big picture. Right. So it could be a case of them just basically going into a game with a game plan they've never really practiced with and didn't work out at all.
And these are the things that we don't get to see or hear about until afterwards, and I do appreciate that interview with Tugux. Before we do that, though, we have to start meeting their opponents. They said they beat them last time in the grand final of Asus ROG. Yes, he acknowledged, though, there was a different roster, so let's meet the new one. It's time to meet Epsilon. Our analysts stated that it was hard to find a weak link within Epsilon. Often there is someone that isn't quite pulling their weight, but everyone, Halvor, yesterday seemed to be playing their part and doing exactly what was necessary for Epsilon to look like a cohesive unit. You agree with that statement? You seem to be nodding.
Absolutely. And again, it took me a bit by surprise. I expected more chaos within the ranks of Epsilon, really. But it seems like they thrive in it. So they don't really need that structure as of right now, at least, to do well for themselves. And everybody's chipping in. I have to be pleasantly surprised about my fellow Norwegian on the team. Kalle, he's not having a poor showing in that sense. He's doing what he's supposed to do. And I was expecting him to have a way rougher time, actually, going into this.
And I do think that has to be kind of highlighted even further, because he is, just to highlight the story to everyone at home, he is literally someone who was given a phone call like, hey, do you mind jumping in for a tournament right now, too? I'm not making that up.
Yeah. That was like the day before they flew here.
The day before they fly.
Tuesday.
It's like, hey, can you come and fill in? And he's sitting there, middle of the pack, getting aces. He's not looking too shabby. He doesn't look like a necessarily disjointed member of the team.
No, I mean, he's got a long history in the game. Obviously hasn't been active for a lot of the time in the last five years or so, but if it's like riding a bicycle, eventually once you know the fundamentals. Obviously it takes time to get the touch in the game into a level where you can really compete, but you don't forget about Counter-Strike in that sense.
Well, it's not just Kalle who is relatively new to this roster. Yes, he got a call on Tuesday, but Barbar was actually here just about a month ago, added to that roster. We did get to see him kind of rounding out Epsilon. So let's have a quick couple of words with him before we start talking about the nitty-gritty.
We started up with the qualifier back online with 512 teams, and it was it's very hard. It's very hard. It's a best of one online, it's pretty random, but we made it through the qualifier.
It's almost the other way around.
We can see Draken again. Look at it. Just push it up. Like, it's not even anything fantastic about it. Spins around with the 180 and he shuts down JW.
I think we knew we were a strong team since before, but it's always hard to make it through to an open qualifier. But so far we did it good, and we're only qualified team still in the tournament, so it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. We're doing a good job, even though we had to swap a player 2 days before this event. So. We are satisfied so far. Played against Heroic and Ense. Overtime against Heroic on one of their strongest map, and we beat Ense pretty comfortable. We think we're still a level above Ense right now. They swap a lot of players also, and I think we have a stronger core than them. So, a best of one is really random, It's not like the best of three. You still have some chances, but you need to. It's all about the gun rounds and how you get the flow in the best of ones. But that was pretty some good games to build up for today, where we play Godsend. Today's game was really close. I think we had a 16-14 first map, and overtime we won the second map on cash. And then overtime after we were ahead 13-2 on the last map. So it's a hard knock when we had so many rounds to play. We can fail so much with 13 rounds, but no, it's a really hard knockout on the team. But there's still more games to go, and we can just try to refocus after this close game. We have the young gun Res. He's 18, I think, 18 years, and he have a great mentality to play at top level CS. He's a great talent. So there is one, and we have Draken with the op, and you should talk about Freddy B also. He's usually the support player, but put up so many good rounds that he should have a mention as well. Kalle is also a really good player, but Doplan is pretty much. This good Upland was on a level of his own. There's not many players in the world that can play the game he does, but definitely there's some good firepower in the team, and we should just. It's still a young team, even though now when Kalle is in, I played with the team for 2 months now, so it's still a young team, and we have a lot of work on. But definitely, firepower is one of our strongest. We talked about Pixel Fire, and I have my old teammate Dead Fox in Hellraisers. So I root for him, and I hope he have been doing really good with Hellraisers, and they all have been. So It would be really fun to play against them, but Space Soldiers show they're a really, really strong team also, you know, they keep performing every time now. So it will probably be a really close game, and depends on the maps they can get, but I see Hellraisers as the favorites in this one. Getting into the major qualifier, first of all, like top 2 here, I think we have good chances if we play our A game. Getting into the major, but I think the major qualifier is really stacked, you know. There's a lot of big teams right now in the major qualifier, so that will be very hard. But I mean, we have come so far already, you know. We played close maps with Godsent and Virtus Pro and Envious, you know. So it's big teams we played against already. So I feel of course we have a chance. We need to believe that we have a chance, but it will be very hard.
Bob Barbar there, just clarifying just how scary the premise is of even if he does get out of the minor and into the major qualifier, there's a lot more where that came from in order to get to that major. Of course, going to be happening over in January next year. So close to next year. It still feels weird to say next year, the major. That's what's happening, of course.
Time flies, boys. It's crazy. Like I feel like this year
still
has just
April
disappeared
in my head.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the time flies. I thought it was Barbar was here for 1 month. Turns out he's been playing for 2.
Yeah.
But the biggest takeaways from that interview seem to be firepower. Epsilon believe that they have got a stronger core, Natu, and more firepower. Does that seem like good kind of ways to summarize the roster?
Hashtag ease at friends, boys.
Yeah.
I mean, they compensate for the other qualities by having that firepower for sure. I mean, it does help along the road of being having to play with a stand-in, obviously, or we don't know if it's a stand-in if it's going to stay on the team, but still someone they haven't practiced with previously. You know, when you're lacking those qualities of having a lot of set pieces you can throw at opponents, then obviously individual skill is that one thing that can save your day, and they definitely do have that. And also they can grind out wins in rounds where they're down-numbered, and that's something they also need in this situation.
However, I did love that when he was listing off the strengths of the team, he almost ended up listing the whole damn roster.
Well, he did, didn't he?
He
The only
did,
guy he didn't talk about was himself. So, but it's understandable,
he
though.
should, though. I mean, Barbar's been playing really great.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Everyone on Epsilon have been playing really, really well.
Yeah.
So far in this tournament, I don't think you have a single guy. I mean, you started off with this when talking about Epsilon. None of them have actually underperformed. None of them has been hiding in the shadows in that sense, not stepping into the limelight. And if you're Epsilon, you have to feel great about that. Even though you lose an extremely close game versus Godsent yesterday, you can still feel happy about the fact that you performed exceptionally well for the better part of it, and you were constantly in the game and had a good opportunity to actually closing it out. I mean, sure, you try to forget the last end of Mirage, but everything leading up to that point was fairly promising.
Yeah, clutching up cash, taking it 13-2 on the first half of Mirage, that's where you stop. Just stop the memory there, feeling really good, and everything is great.
I think they have a legitimate chance of going through to the finals all the way, because they've showcased they have the qualities to do that.
And of course, the maps are going to be very important. It did seem like during the brainstorming session that Space Soldiers and Epsilon might have some similarities in terms of maps that they'll be banning and picking. You're both nodding kind of frantically.
Yeah.
So does this mean that we're going to be seeing hopefully some sexy CS if everything goes to plan?
Well, we figured it was going to be very similar map pool to what they had in Finland, and it appears to be quite similar, actually.
Yeah, the only real difference here is that Epsilon decided to Veto train this time instead of Dust 2, which allows Space Soldiers to get probably their favorite map, which is a bit weird because we did see Epsilon leave this open versus Godsent yesterday, which also surprised us because we would have seen, or we would have expected Epsilon yesterday to take the route of vetoing train, letting Nuke stay open and kind of force Godsent had, because again, it's two teams that don't really play the map. And in this scenario, Epsilon had the upper hand in the sense that, well, Space Soldiers don't play the same maps as Epsilon.
Yeah, I find it weird they banned Train.
Yeah,
like,
no,
I find it extremely strange
Especially
at this point. Considering you would have been sitting at Cash, Train, and Mirage. That's a very good situation for Epsilon, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They could. I mean, we've seen them on Train already, right? That was where we saw the Freddie B. Deagles. We saw some great play from everyone almost on the Swedish roster.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
And that's the thing. Why would they leave it open versus Godsent if they felt insecure about it and then have a pretty good showing on the map and then go back to removing it? Because it's not like Space Soldiers are renowned.
This is the second time in a row we see logic doesn't always apply for Epsilon's veto.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
So, I mean, all bets are off. But at the same time, I guess you can always say Dust 2, the Puggy map. You can do a lot with the spawns, all that jazz. Everyone's played Dust 2 through their freaking lives, basically, the last 15 years. But then again, it's a hard map to play against a team that's good on it.
Which
Even when you're mixing it up.
Which we've outlined Space Soldiers are.
They are pretty decent on it.
So let's then see if your logical mind that doesn't seem to understand the veto will understand the predictions.
Well,
that's right.
It's all going to explode.
Space Soldiers Epsilon. It feels like we've been singing the praises of Epsilon more than Space Soldiers.
Yeah,
So
but I don't think it's as straightforward, though.
No.
That's the
Now you know the
problem.
vetoes as well.
Yeah, no, but even after seeing the vetoes, I'm feeling happy if I'm an Epsilon fan at this point.
Okay.
But I don't necessarily. No, this is not going to be a 2-0, and at least I have a hard time seeing Epsilon picking off Dust 2 from Space Soldiers. But I could very well see this being a 2-1 for Epsilon.
Yeah, same. I agree.
Okay.
I agree. Cash has been strong for Epsilon for sure, and they should have won it against
Godsend, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that result is kind of resonating most with us, is the success that Epsilon did have versus Godsend. Now, I would say Epsilon, but I've agreed that I'm always going to go against you guys, and so Space Soldiers is my prediction. I believe that the Turkish side are going to go ahead and surprise here and get themselves that battle versus Godsend in a lower bracket.
Yeah.
All right. Predictions done, and the players have just roared at the top of their lungs in the studio, which means just one thing, that they are ready to go. And so just quickly glancing at the predictions from you guys at home, and okay, it seems that Turkey has woken up. Good to see you guys. 79% of Twitch believe Space Soldiers are going to take
I don't think
this
we're
one.
welcome in Turkey right now.
Hey,
But we do love Space Soldiers, though.
Oh, and then Twitter, look at this.
We do love Space Soldiers.
We do, yeah. We're expecting 3 maps, or at least both of you.
They have all the chance in the world to win this, too.
Yeah, and again, they have a decent chance because it's not only Zentars anymore.
And in this kind of matchup, you kind of have to go with your gut feeling when it comes to predicting it, because there's not enough basis to really say, who's going to be the better. It's going to be so many factors that you can't really account for.
It's not really teams that play each other often, and again, lineup changes have happened and so on, and so you don't really have a good base of just knowing how they're going to play up against each other, because the last time they played, that was in August. So ton of things have happened since then.
Sure. And I mean, track record, Space Soldiers have beaten Epsilon every time they've played, but they have just played 3 maps of CS. All right, let's bring the casters into the picture. Boys, it seems like Twitter says one thing, Twitch says another, the desk says another. What's happening over there at the caster desk?
Personally, I'm going to have to agree with the desk on this one. I still think this one's going to favor Epsilon a little bit with the performance they've had so far at this land. I do agree with them as well. I think it's going to be 2-1, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to be Epsilon taking it.
Okay, having faith.
I agree.
Risk, come join me. We've been having a little thing going on.
Sorry, man.
Okay.
For this one, I'm going for the rest of the desk and saying the exact same thing. Basically, Dust 2's definitely going to go Space Soldiers' way, and I think Epsilon just has the last 10% to nod it off on cash.
I'm going to go find some yellow felt tips and make a Space Soldiers sign. I'll let you guys go ahead and do some casting. All right, much love.
All right, thank you very much. Well, we'll get prepared to jump into this first map here in just a few seconds. It's going to be Cash to start things off. Your thoughts now going into that first map between these two teams?
It's going to be very, very interesting to see how Epsilon are going to start off, because the desk said it pretty well that Cash, they did look very good last time around when we saw them against Godsend. So now it's time to see if they can replicate that performance once again against a team that's, okay, let's face it, individually not as strong as Godsend. So how are they going to look facing off a team like Space Soldiers in this one?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think, however, that the sentiments of the desk stating that there really aren't any weak players in the Epsilon roster is definitely true, whereas we saw that with Space Soldiers yesterday. It's certainly not the case. We saw some very weak links in the Space Soldiers chain, I guess you could say there. Paz and Despy, who had been showing up at the first day, we really didn't see all that much from them beyond a couple key rounds from those guys, and Tugux, I think, was good in, on CT sides, but on T sides we weren't really seeing a whole lot of them, unfortunately. So very back and forth and very sort of conditional, I guess you could say, with a lot of the Space Soldiers players. Whereas Epsilon, I think the one blunder they had was Draken having like a really weak half on one of the maps. He only got like 3 frags, but then he made up for that, and I think by the end of the actual map, he was top fragging at the end, so we can't even really call that one a bad map for him, to be completely honest.
Yeah, definitely. Space Soldiers, just like Godsend to some extent, is one of these teams when their big players go off, the team wins the game. But when the big players aren't really going 100%, they have a hard time for the rest of the guys, the support players, the in-game leaders, to step up as well. And Epsilon is the complete opposite of that, because I think pretty much every game they have, they are almost equal in frags, and everyone is always doing their part to get the win.
Well, it is time, guys, to get into things now. Of course, since we're still in a best of 3, there won't be a knife round. Just sides being chosen. Epsilon go onto the T side, and Space Soldiers on the defense. Opening push. Split across the map here, but quite a few of them actually expecting there to be some aggression in through the mid garage. It won't be happening, as we can see on the mini-map there. Space Soldiers still playing this pretty basic We'll wait and see for the follow-up from Epsilon now, as they will push into the site. A lot of noise being made here in A, but this is a ruse. Xantari is already able to grab his first kill there against Barbar, and that's going to push it back. However, it pulled the rotations off of the B-bomb, so there's no one there to defend it now, and they take full control for Epsilon.
Yeah, but a couple of frags has gone in already, so this is going to be 5v3 retake, and very importantly, the cities still have utility in this one, so it's up to the shots of, well, Freddy B to start with.
Freddy B, though, is only going to grab that one kill. Xantari's trading it out now. It's Draken in the back there, finding his first kill, but he cannot line up the second one, and eventually they'll go down to Paz, guaranteeing the plant, so a third round buy is immediately enabled, of course, but Space Soldiers still with a nice retake after they initially kind of get tricked there with the fake play over into the A site. They still manage to round it back pretty nicely, though, and they'll pick up the pistol.
Yeah, so when you do that two-man push, two-man fake onto that A-bomb site, you always need to get at least one frag, because it's going to be so hard to hold aside 3v5, especially when the CTs do like they do in this round, and they actually buy utilities on 2 players, so they have flashbangs when going into that retake. In a pistol round, that's not very likely, so Space Soldiers taking that one out, are buying 2 M4s and 1 Farmers as well. Despair, of course, saving the money to get that orb.
And we see again Epsilon just splitting up into that default pattern here, but taking it lightly, as we were mentioning before. It's the Deagle and Tech 9 are the only real notable weapons here beyond the P250s picked up by the rest. And Freddy's gone hunting for a player at White Box. But Space Soldiers so far, judging from the pistol in this round, have been playing things pretty stowed away from the middle area there. I think I out mid though, right up on top of the red box of the A site, so that's actually going to be easy pickings for Rez. And oh, Freddy catches Despy now, moving away from the other side of mid there, so now they've got some punishment going on. Paz, however, able to trade that back out. That's going to send them barreling over to the B-bomb site, where currently there's no defense for Space Soldiers.
Yeah, this is looking quite weird. 3 players left and 1 mid, 2 towards A. One of them is rotating now, but it seems so weird if they have 3 left, unless they have a plan to play for the retake, that they just leave them there. Just one of the CTs just jumping straight in. This is not looking good for Engine there. That was a rash decision in my opinion, and he die off to Calais.
Tugux now looking for any players that overstep their boundaries here and go into the open that he could punish, but there's no one obliging to that at all. Tugux just holding back here. Paz rolls in up in heaven and gets 1. Tugux really just trying to clean up what he can. He's got it down to 2, but the problem is the plant position, I believe, works out really good for him. This is that perfect plant spot for the CTs, I should say, here. Or apologies for the Ts. And Epsilon now, as they push in, there's not a whole lot that Tugux can do. He's kind of stuck behind the boxes here. 3 HP. They've got him cornered. Draken's just going to push right in, shut him down, and there's the roundup set coming in from Epsilon. They immediately traded back, and Space Soldiers, that's going to send their economy just barreling down to hell.
To be honest, comparing it to the pistol round that we just saw, this was a very sloppy round from Space Soldiers. This is not very uncharacteristic for them to play like this and make these mistakes. Either you go and split it 1-1-1, 1 mid, 1 A, 1 B, or you play together for the retake. There's no way of it's just not a good idea for I think it was Andy to just drop in all on his own. Oh yeah, I can retake the side on my own with the UMP. No, you can't. Just face facts and play smart. But of course, Space Soldiers, they are a very intelligent team, so they will use this one to just note to themselves, okay, this is not going to be possible. We have to play intelligently and maybe a tad more defensive and tad more as a team going into the next ones.
For now, again, things will remain tied in that situation, so it is going to cause some distress for the Space Soldiers roster. I believe we've gone into a pause here really quickly, so things should resume in a moment. But now the question at hand for Space Soldiers is, it always is when you get upset as CTs after winning the pistol, is okay, do we take this loss and go on to our sequence of ecos, or do we look for the aggressive response? They didn't really manage to get that many players of Epsilon knocked out, unfortunately. So with them reinvesting into this round, of course, they're going to be in a much, much better position economically speaking than Space Soldiers will. It may not even be worth it because of that for them to actually go for the force buy unless they can have some sort of a plan in mind which can actually, at the very least, guarantee that damage. They've decided to go for it, though, so that full investment does end up coming in for the CT, as you saw there a moment ago. But yeah, just a weird chain of mistakes, as we can see here. That's the second frag is a little bit unavoidable, of course, because you're not really going to know that guy's boosted up. But the first player just standing out with nobody having eyes on that A main position, that's a little bit unfortunate there.
Yeah, it seems so weird, and as I said, uncharacteristic for Space Soldiers to make these kind of mistakes, because they are a well-drilled team. They've played together for such a long time. They always know when to cover each other's backs. This time it just doesn't work out at all. So right now we do see, as you say, the investment coming in from Space Soldiers. 1 UMP-45 and pistols for the rest. But those pistols, close range, can be very, very deadly. So if they can hold their angles and just use the slight utility they have purchased, to make work in their favor. It can happen for Space Soldiers.
Yeah, and Epsilon in the meantime taking things very, very quickly over here towards mid control. I think they've caught on to how weak the defenses generally have been placed out here, so that'll get dangerous. Space Soldiers, if we look back to some of their other maps too, like on their CT sides on the Cobblestone, this was another thing for them too, is they were kind of ignoring drop for a large portion of their CT side halves. These are big parts of the map that they're not really wanting to play towards for reasons not fully aware of at this point, but it is causing, it is allowing for the T's, whichever team it may be, to take really good control early on, and that could obviously spiral out of control if they don't manage to contain things within the bomb sites. Engine, though, patience works out for him behind the box and checkers. He's able to find Kelly early on here now and bring things down to a 5v4. Molotov, that was going to burn him out as 3 players have him cross-angled. And now, well, 4 rotations are coming in, but they're in the open ready to take these duels there with much better gun power. Rez finding his first pick up there, Barbar finding a second. Took stuck on the site, but he's able to impact still. It's a 2v2 here with a third rotating back in still. Also, you have Xantares a little bit up top, 23 HP. Freddy knocking out Tukas, though, leaves just Xantares alive. And, well, there's Draken wrapping it around the backside through Z to stop him from retreating.
So 3 weapons saved this time around for Epsilon. We do see Draken, or Draken if you will, with enough money to buy an AWP. So he can drop that FAMAS if he wants. And okay, he's actually just going for the Mach 10 this time around, so he wants even more money in the bank. He is crazy about that. But of course it means that he will have an AWP for the next round. Of course, not a good idea to buy an AWP against pistols, but he has the money for it, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and Epsilon, with them winning that second round, importantly, it has sent Space Soldiers down onto their forced eco now, since the buy-up investment on that last round didn't really work out. Draken moving in, though, is actually going to find himself in a bit of a tough spot, but Space Soldiers are not prepared for that quick of a hit. And already the B-site's cleared out. Unfortunate. And now again, because they don't have anyone in the mid, Barbar can just split this. Gets dinked down to 18 HP, but still manages to chain together the second kill. He's going to fall back a little bit now. And yeah, Xantares has already kind of been boxed out here.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem when you have aggressive Ts. The one thing that you have going for you as CT is that you can place close angles with the pistols, but when they push in with Mach 10s, who are, like, that weapon is even better close range, so you just get wrecked completely, and we do see the 2 Mach 10s make the difference this time around, picking up the frags for Epsilon. So 3-1, as I said, Draken with that AWP now, and enough money to spare on pretty much the rest of the team to buy yet another time, perhaps even 2 times. While on Space Soldier's side, they do get the weapons, but they don't have enough money to get all the utility, and they will be forced into a pistol round if they lose.
And Epsilon are going to send, again, everybody barreling over here, just into the default pattern. Not really anything huge being done yet. But now, what I like to see is we actually have something being done for Space Soldiers here, specifically in mid. Engine he's getting himself here into the vents, but he's paying a lot more attention for a checkers push currently than mid. And also, obviously, the guys... Oh, Resonator is going to open this site wide open by pushing in and getting that entry there. Paz with the trade, but Resonator again finding another pickup. Xantares, though, he's able to trade things out. The guys from Epsilon are not ready for that player at the truck position, and he brings it back into the control of Space Soldiers, down to a 3v2. The second player still waiting at mid, though, and that's Freddy B, who is yet to come out into the open. He'll strike with that kill over there onto Engine. It's even again, but Freddy B's so low, so it's still Rez, mainly here on the A side, having to draw the attention. Bomb's not under his control, but the patience plays off. Xantares, though, lurking around. There's going to be his third pickup, and now it's down to a 1 versus 1. Freddy sitting way in the back of A main. He doesn't even feel confident enough to peek out here. He's got the flashbangs to try and work with, but Xantares full control over this position, and he's got eyes on the bomb right now. Still with 45 seconds to go.
Yeah, there's no way Xantares should be losing this one. If somehow Freddy B manages to pull in a good shot, that's, well, it's something, but Xantares is ice cold. And he puts up the 4K here, does not get the AWP in the end, so that means that they won't have an AWP for Despay this time. There's going to be another round of UMPs and FAMASas and stuff like that, because yeah, have a look at their money, it's not great. They lost so many players. So it's going to be UMPs, some M4s, and maybe even a FAMAS in there as well. But yeah, Res, aka the Resonator, just... yeah, clearing up that site, but that's not enough.
Yeah, and that's Rez again showing up, who was a big performer, especially towards the end of the line yesterday for Epsilon's games. Space Soldiers themselves, of course, having some kind of ruck players of their own there, and Xantares immediately showing up with some of those big clutches. He was one of the few players that was actually able to save Space Soldiers when they were continuously falling behind in their matches yesterday, but they bring it back, and now with that, we will see him pulling out a big 4K there on their first real gun rounds to be able to keep the scoreline close at 2-3. Draken, though, looking for a way inside here. He'll open up the doorway. No one peeking from that on the Space Soldiers side. Oh, tucked away in the site, but no, he's not going to go for that. Thankfully, I believe he should have been able to hear the door opening.
Yeah. That's just the one thing that you can't do. When you hear that door opening, you can't go peek it when you're on the CT on the side. You have to stay defensive. You have to call the fact that the door has been opened, so there's a possibility of T's being in there, and your teammates will have to cover you and put down smokes. And, well, when the push comes out, you have the defensive angle, and that means you have the better situation, and that's what they're waiting for right now. Paz, of course, covering the main, making sure that no one can cross there without anyone's knowledge, so they won't get surprised.
Very important to note, too, that normally the door would open the other direction. The players had positioned themselves so that they force it to open inwards towards them. And so, thankfully, that guy playing on site there, Despy, actually gets the read on that and decides to not the peek. Where normally, if the door opens in its usual spot, unless he wallbangs him, he would be safe there.
Yeah, and that's just one of the few small things that make the difference between like top level players. These small things that remembering to do that, because if you go on a rank S game or any like top level usual like pug game, people will forget that. But in these situations, those small details make the difference.
Well, Tukux is going to open things up now. It's finally Epsilon are ready to execute here into the B bomb site. A trade comes in, but they haven't spotted Engine yet, and some of these guys are so lit. Paz also impacting 2 or 3 seconds, and they haven't even started the plant yet. Engine goes down, but there's no time left, and Epsilon are going to drop this round after they had gotten full control of the site.
That is a blunder from Epsilon, to be honest. They should have won that round for sure. 3v1 in the end, but just, executing 10 seconds too late. And that's just basically it. If they had 1 or 2 or 3 seconds more, they could have secured the site completely, gotten the bomb down, and, well, obviously won a 3v1 post plant.
So with that one, Space Soldiers actually count themselves a little bit lucky that the timer works out in their favor there, and Epsilon with a big blunder like that. Well, thankfully quite a few other players survived the encounter, so they can still buy up into this round, but still, they're going to be running out of cash pretty soon here if they don't start making up for that one. Things are starting to look very, very sloppy very quickly as Space Soldiers have once again gotten their gun power back.
Yeah, back and forth between these two teams right now. A couple of sloppy rounds for Space Soldiers allow Epsilon to go ahead. This very sloppy round from Epsilon in the end allows Space Soldiers to tie up. And Res, just once again, just opening here from the door. This is his favorite position. Kind of like watching JW. JW, of course, doing it with the AWP. Res doing it with the AK this time around.
Zentaris is going to wrap in. He's the one link that I think saves this A site currently, though. Beyond that, Epsilon have actually been pretty good at getting entries into this bomb site. They're able to take him down at the early round here, then I feel like they can get access to this A site a lot quicker, but Zentaris, he's got one player down to 10 HP, and oh no, he's going to keep pushing forward. He's almost able to recover in time, but Kali takes him down. Still good stuff to be able to find those impact frags, but the problem is, now it's a 4v2. Both the players are wrapping from B, and he's going to go for it, though. He's got a smoke sitting in front of him here around the truck corner, so he's able to push directly through this, stops the plant, but unfortunately is not ready for the bar peek back over in quad. That takes him down. Tukux with a nice reaction to eliminate Rez. Now, though, only 2 players sitting on this site that he's got to deal with. Other one is sitting way back over there in A main. They try to combo with a flashbang out of A main. Kind of works, but the flashbang has minimal effect. Barbar just peeks out around the corner, grabs the kill as he's retreating, and there is another round for Epsilon.
Yeah, let's face it, it's going to be hard when the 2 players left to clutch is your in-game leader and your support player. Usually when they want to go for a sure thing, clutch Space Soldiers will have Centaurus or Paz in that, because they are very, very good at that specific role. Engine and Tuga is probably not going to be the ones that you want on your team in a clutch situation, but, well, they get 1 frag, so it's not a terrible situation, but in the end, Epsilon come out with a win. Draken on the AWP and Eco on the Turkish side.
And Barbar going for the boost now. As the rest of the team still split into that same default, which is becoming kind of the standard style of play here. But this player getting some damage, as you can see, Barbar letting up Despy a little bit. Eco around here, so again, things in theory should be straightforward, but these trades are not favoring Epsilon here in the long run.
No, definitely not.
Paz playing behind that forklift position there. He's able to tap down one of them there as he takes down Resonator, who's had a pretty good track record of finding those kills there, but getting traded out certainly won't help their case. The round's certainly not thrown away yet, but it's a slippery slope. That's a dink again, I think, for like 4 damage.
Yeah, that is not lucky from Paz. But then again, this is kind of the problem when you play 2 players aggressively on that A-bomb side. You kind of always leave that shot open. And Baba will wrap in from behind. Paz is, well, he knows that there's something going on, but he can't seem to find the frag. In the end, he will go down to Barbar. And now it's a 4v3 scenario. The CTs are in peculiar positions, especially, well, Despe, as he gets 1 frag, but eventually shut down by Freddy B. The bomb will surely go now onto that A-bomb side and get planted. Barbar's actually taken out by Engine, though.
A lot of players from Epsilon keeping themselves in the open, and this is where these pistols are going to be able to punish. Now Engine retrieving the AK. He's got another guy standing out there. That's Freddy B. He's able to cross, but no, leaving himself a bit exposed here. Fortunately, Engine just not able to find the headshots necessary, so The last guys alive from Epsilon do get onto the site, but it's an even battle here, a 2v2. The one thing they got going for them is the lack of utility for those CTs, along with armor here. And there's Kali finding the first one there, and the second one following it up. Nicely done from Kali, and Epsilon secure their 5th.
Yeah, great play from Epsilon there. Balbar pretty much once again opening up the round. The in-game leader for Epsilon taking out the first one and pretty much clearing the side for his teammates. And of course, when you have Kali in that 2v2, technically it's a 1v2 because she just takes both of them out easily.
And there you have it. That Kali, nicely done. Playing the cover perfectly and able to get those repeaks. So that will allow the guys from Epsilon to reclaim things after a little bit of a slip up there. And as mentioned previously, with Space Soldiers going for that force up after they got traded on the second round, it sent their economy into a very dark place, for lack of better wording. And unfortunately, there's going to be a lack of buy rounds for quite some time because of that now that they got traded out again here just a few rounds later. The opening of the door, though, from Paz. The timing, and Centauri's grabbing 2 Wandigs out of nowhere. Barber and Kali both go down to that one. Looks for the third, but his opponent is crouching a little bit, so he dodges the shot. Freddy B with the response, but now Epsilon already heavily injured here. Freddy's down at 8 HP. Draken the only one that can impact, but he's got an up.
Yeah, that was a sick double shot from Centaurus there, but Draken answers back, takes Centaurus out of the equation, and has some kind of idea that passes inside the door. Of course, he knows the bomb is down in the CT. Oh, he actually hits him through the doors, or through the wall, excuse me. Draken, once again, just pulling off insane things.
Draken's going to pull that one off. A little bit scared of someone being on the site currently. It's not the case. They've got a player back by truck. He's seen him peek in there. Perhaps a little bit of damage on the Tuguks. The real question is, where is Freddy B? He's got to get himself joined up with this action, but it won't be plausible as he goes down to engine a little bit closer out there towards the garage here. Draken at the very least knows where one of these guys is, and now he's going to move it against Paz. This is the player that he lit up through the wall earlier, but he doesn't realize it, so just tries to dip in there and get the bomb, so he doesn't have to go for a full battle. And Paz is actually going to hold that advantage there and take him down. Space Soldiers trade the rounds again now, and they go 4-5.
And once again, on the back of individual actions of Paz and Centaurus, Space Soldiers edged themselves into a round that did technically, if you look at the money, shouldn't have it. Look at that. That is genius. Centaurus just running into his crosshairs, basically.
Bam.
Bam.
Nicely done from Centaurus there. And again, showing us why he is the star for Space Soldiers. The double op setup is also going to come in for the CTs now that they've been able to get actually quite a few guns for free there. But Engine is going to be challenged very early on here as Epsilon try to rush their way over to the B-bomb site. Won't play out though. Engine grabs that first kill on both Freddy B and Rez. They've been spotted. They need to be a little bit more creative with the timing of this hit, as otherwise it'll be very easy to read and more than likely shut down too.
It's actually fun that Engine, who is the support player, is actually the one getting supported in this situation. He goes for the opening frag, and then his teammate is the one covering him up with a smoke and a counter flash to make sure that the terrorists aren't killing him. Engine, once again, just going off here. Could grab a third one as well. He has 2 in his account already, and he won't. It's going to be Rez to pick him up.
So he'll go down, but this is a consistent pattern now developing with Engine, where he's actually doing a really good job of getting consistent aggressive frags as a CT. So whether that's pushing out to the B halls, he got like a flank on the last round to take down. I think it was Freddy B who had been injured, and then this one he picks up 2 kills before getting knocked out too. So I mean that completely kills the possible B hit that they were working towards, and I think they know there's going to be this guy sticking in a Z. Yep, Despy reads that one from a mile away. So Kali gets knocked out, and he's even got the lock on this last player too. Rez, unfortunately, you are not going to find a clear path into that site. So Space Soldiers, well, they tie up the game again now.
Yeah, it's looking good for Space Soldiers, to be honest. The mistakes that we've seen has been pretty much sloppy play, and that is something they can easily fix. It's not like their level is lacking anywhere, and it's not like their holds and their setups and basically their rotations is wrong. So the mistakes they've made and the rounds they've lost is on the back of sloppy play, which they can easily fix by just focusing and playing their A game. So Space Soldiers so far actually the team that is impressing me the most in this game.
And Epsilon are sending everybody over here into A main. It's a much more straightforward style of initial push now, as they lead themselves over to the A-bombs. The Molotov going in there, but actually Xantares is ready for that. 1, 2, 3, 4 for Xantares. The entire hit goes down to the ground, and it's just Draken left alive in A main.
Yeah, Xantares looking for the ace now. Draken just reluctant to give it to him, just hiding here behind forklift. And well, they have to know that he's somewhere near, but there's just no reason to go hunt. And here we go, Draken on the impossible mission. Can he make this one happen? No.
Not even close.
Gets wrecked by Tugux, and that's going to be 6-5. So Space Soldiers finally taking the lead here. And if you have a look at the money, it's actually starting to look quite good. 4 players who will be able to rebuy, and when we're on the CT side, it means so much. You have the economical situation to back you up. Even if you lose a single round, you could just rebuy it, get all your equipment. On the T side, of course, it's a bit different because you can run these fast rounds and the AKs are a bit cheaper. So right now we do see Epsilon actually going for the buy here, but missing utility. Still, hopefully they can make something happen.
Zentari is not moving an inch in that play. Full confidence from him, and he is able to pretty much single-handedly shut down the hit from Epsilon once again on that A site. Like I mentioned before, though, he's the big player here. Over on the B site, obviously, we've seen a lot more issues pop up for Epsilon, but if they can handle Zentari, the A site, generally speaking, can prove to be wide open. As we've seen there again, Paz not proving to be very consistent. He's going to get knocked out early on by Rez, but there's that aggressive push coming in again from Engine. It takes down Freddy B, and it equalizes things after these guys found an opening over here on A.
Yeah, and it is funny that A is seeming to be the easier target for Epsilon because it is the site that has the 2 star players of Space Soldiers, which of course is Paz and Centaurus. On the other bomb side, it's going to be, of course, Engine, the support player. But he seems to be wrecking everyone as well on B, so this is a hard choice for Epsilon, and they end up going out on A.
So they are going to push themselves in here pretty clean. Space Soldiers don't decide to commit any of the remaining 3 until after the plant comes in. But that's also allowed players like Kali to get into position behind the forklift. He's going to jump up. He goes into the Molotov, though. There's not really anywhere to run. So he's forced back up on top, and that's where Engine's going to punish. Despy wrapping back around the forklift now that it's clear. Takes down Draken, but Rez sneaking back out from the quad spot. Finds Engine. Despy's the last man standing, and he's stuck in the 1v2. There's the first one, though, and Rez didn't push up to this one. He knows exactly where he's at. He's just about locating the exact position. Jumps up on top of the red box. They can hear him stomping around there, though, and he can't locate Rez quickly enough. So he'll finish things off. That's a nice 4K on the round from him. We've been seeing him make those entries in the Squeaky, and this time he goes in and clears out the whole site on his own.
Yeah, Rez is one of these players that have been like lurking just below the top level of the Swedish scene, and he is just so incredibly talented. And he's a great example of how deep the Swedish scene is with talent, because this guy is just wrecking some of the best players that Turkey has to offer, and he's not even like considered a top 10 player in Sweden yet.
So nicely played from him. Those 2 kills from inside of the Squeaky doorway. Then he goes into quad to find one more, and then kind of very slowly moves his way through the big red area there to be able to pick up one of the last kills. Despy, though, waiting for the peek on Draken this time, will get the quick kill for Space Soldiers as they go up. And also a bit of a close encounter there towards Checkers. We can see Freddy B moving in. He's expecting Engine this time, though. And finally, we're going to see Engine go down before he picks off 1 or 2 of the guys from Epsilon.
And it's so important to have a support player who, of course, can drop his weapon and then play with a deagle and actually still get kills, and that's Freddy. If you just drop him that deagle, he can buy the head armor, of course, to withstand the pressure of the M4. He's going to be able to get frags. That is great to have a support player who's able to do that with so little investment.
They denied the early fragging coming out here now from the guys on the A-bomb site too, and Paz, just a pure confidence play. Pushes himself into A main, Kali and Barbara go down, and he gets bomb control too. Perfect situation here now for the Space Soldiers roster after losing Engine. Again, the B side obviously was opened up a little bit, but Epsilon decided to go in towards A yet again. Generally has the appearance of a weaker site, but with Rez not being able to find his entry initially, and yeah, Zatari's catching another kill through the smoke, it's pretty much killed it. The only light at the end of the tunnel is Freddy B getting this free mid-control, but with the rest of his team dying on the actual site, it's not left him a lot of room to clutch here.
I'm actually really liking what I'm seeing from Space Soldier so far. I was kind of fearing that the statistics would fail us and let Epsilon take this one, because these statistics are telling us that Space Soldiers is the stronger side. But so far, I have actually not seen too much from Epsilon saying, "Yeah, we can easily beat these guys," because Space Soldiers are just playing good CS right now.
Yeah, and again, this will break Epsilon there, losing that round without really any trades at all. So it'll take them down into a Tech 9 buy, but they're going to directly force into this one, actually. All investments, normally we would just see the pistols themselves in this situation, but it's not going to be the case. They buy up armor behind it, and if they can afford it, they'll have a little bits of utility too. So this will be interesting to see what they're trying to take with this.
So let's have a look here. Round number 14 coming in, and well, maybe it's the Tech 9 train. Let's see how many stations it's going to stop at. Right now, it looks like the end station is going to be B. 4 players there, and Flash is coming in now.
Push it, but Engine's already ready for this one, spraying it down. It only gets 1 kill, though. Kali trading, Tuguk's picking up 1, 2, and Parbar nicely done tapping away elsewhere over there towards mid. He's going to be able to find Zantari's, but real heroes here are those players that pushed into B and didn't actually lose themselves. Only 1-for-1 trades, basically the best situation you could ask for. So they get themselves into the site, and now Paz sending out Heaven. They've already detected him, They still got a lot of nades to throw into this site and potentially use to retake, however, so it's not clear skies yet for Epsilon. Paz, as we can see, moving up towards heaven there, trying to hunt towards Barbar. He knows he's hiding around that corner somewhere, but that's actually a pretty good nade, bringing Despy down to 50 HP. They need to move in soon, and well, they do, but it's not successful. Kali finding the first and final kill, shuts things down, and has a pure outright play of aggression on a force-up for Epsilon that allows them to tie the game again now and take us into the last round with an even scoreline.
So what Epsilon do there is very, very risky. First of all, of course, they buy Tech 9s and armor and go up against a fully bot of Space Soldiers, but also they rush through the smoke without any obvious flashbangs, and I was actually expecting them to throw 1 or 2 flashbangs in there and bounce them off the wall, but they could just go in without flashbangs, which allows them to get just 1 or 2 meters in towards the side before Space Soldiers actually notice what's going on. And when these 2 frags already have gone down on the side, they have the post-plant situation, they have the weapons as well from the dead CTs, and well, Epsilon is just that good, they're not going to give away a post-plant situation like that. So good job to them. We are tied up as we reach the last round of this first half.
And as, again, Epsilon having their success there on the B site, they're just going to go right back to it. I believe the guys from Space Soldiers are trying to play this aggressively, though, and there you go again. The Engine still remaining aggressive here, pushing out. He's got flashbang support for his second pickup there, but he does go a little bit too far into Checkers, and that's where Draken's going to take him down. Tugux, though, is back by the generator, and all this time that Epsilon's wasted here and not being able to get into the site, the rotations are well on their way. However, Draken and Barbar, they are both able to pick up an additional kill to bring this down evenly. They've spotted Tugux sitting over here behind the triple stack on the front site, but they've got to try to get him out of that position. The Molotov is going to burn him away, and there you go. Draken, such calm play from him, and it's playing it perfectly right now. Up to 3 frags. Paz will have to clutch in a 1v2 with no utility. He's been smoked out in CT main here, and Epsilon still aren't crossing to the site. Trying to see if they can get him to bait out the spray a little bit here. He'll be flashed, so won't be doing anything anytime soon, and this will allow the plant to come in for the Swedish roster.
That wasn't the best smoke in the world, actually. A huge gap in the left side, which allows Paz to push in here and hold an aggressive angle. But of course the terrorists are playing this very well. And I have to say, Draken pretty much saving that round, because what kind of mistake they made is that, okay, what worked in the last round was they pushed in as a team and pushed in all at the same time to swarm that bomb site. This time around, the first 2 or 3 players go in on their own, and they lose the battles, and it's basically just because Draken can pick up 2 or 3 frags with the AWP to open that bomb site, they actually get in there. They were very, very close to losing that one.
I mean, you can see that the smoke may have been slightly intentional, because Barber actually stops when he notices there is a little bit of a hole in it there to maybe try and find the kill if he's peeking around the corner to try and abuse that. So maybe expecting
mind
that a little
games,
bit there.
Man.
Yeah.
Mind games. Throw down a bad smoke in order to force him into the position where you know he's going to be.
Once again, I think we saw this yesterday from Epsilon too, but I mean, for the most part, it's a pretty even scoreline across all 5 players. Just echoing that point again, that this is not like a 1 or 2 man highlightable squad here, where you have like those 1 or 2 players that are just kind of outshining the rest of them. That tends to be the story with a lot of like North American rosters and like the tier 2 divisions and whatnot. But for Epsilon here, it's pretty much everybody on the team having equal contribution right now, and Draken certainly earning his with his play on that last round there.
Yeah, and that's great to see when a team isn't based around 1 or 2 players having their star actions every single round. That also shows that they have so much potential for developing into a super good team in the future, because if all players are doing the same thing and they are playing well against top teams, then well, the development could be huge for them. Run boost coming in B horse, but look at this from Draken and Freddy B. They're pushing in towards mid connector, mid garage, and just gaining so much information and so much map control.
Paz is sneaking himself over towards A, but I don't think he's going to be able to find anything from that squeaky doorway position there. There's nobody on the site really peeked out towards that. I think the guy that just rotated from over towards Toxic might be able to spot it, but there's Draken, and oh no.
Oh no.
That back to the headshot accuracy, dude. The pit boxes are so mean. He falls back though, and I think he's still going to be able to get this kill. Nope, I jinxed it. Chugux is going to take down Draken. Kills the flank. Resonator, though, holding. He's going to get a nice little one-tap there. Second one from Freddy B. Resonator finding his own second there on his Antares, and now it's Engine left alone. Barbar dropping in for the vents to finish things off. That gives Epsilon their lead solidified now with a pistol round victory in the second half.
Despite, of course, Draken missing a big bunch of shots from the USPS there, he gives his team so much information so that they can rotate into the correct positions and just play the round perfectly, knowing exactly where the enemies are. So great push into that middle garage, expecting the terrorists to be either positioned towards the A or the B side, getting ready for the hit, and that is correct. That is well read by the CT side, and now they are in the lead, 9-7, and well, forced pistol round for Space Soldiers.
Space Soldier is actually stacking big time over here towards the boost area and in that middle garage. Draken's got to be careful with where he puts his aggression towards. There's a very common spot to be played out now, and certainly Xantares would moving in there, trying to check towards that when he goes for the push. And yep,
Yeah.
oh, he does, but then he repeaks, and that's where Draken has the pre-fire for it. Bit of an unfortunate mistake from Xantares will cost Space Soldiers one of their players here early on in the round.
And here we go. Despae picking up Draken through the smoke. No worries. Deagle is strong. And now, well, oh, okay. Okay, Pastor's coming in there with the headshot onto Calais. I did not think he was going to get that, but Barbar, look at he's there to do the refrag. And we talk about these refrags and these revenge frags so much. The spray is not going to be enough.
Running out of ammo.
Exactly, and that is the worst way to die.
So unfortunate that little awkward delay between him running out of ammo and the Deagle shot running in there. So a little bit of a cartoon moment gives Space Soldiers another kill. But Engine, he's just been flashed. There's no peek from Freddy B though. However, Engine also not looking behind him. Freddy B's going to get a nice dip and kill there. Last one alive is going to be Despae, and he will go down too since he was already injured from previous Epsilon. A bit of a close shave there. They only make it out with 2, so I mean, at the very least, Space Soldiers, well, they don't find the plant. They do the economical damage, keeps the money in a controllable situation. But yeah, 7 to 10. We haven't really seen these big leads yet. So if Epsilon can pick up this next round here along with like the first gun round and the following one after that, this would easily be the most secure either one of these teams has been so far on this map.
Yeah, and also this is going to be almost a full eco coming in for Space Soldiers. This is probably the best chance that the Epsilon have had so far in this game to gain a big lead. 4-round lead actually if they grab this one, and they know this, they know exactly what they're up against. So they're playing Draken and Barbar without any utility, or Draken without any utility on that MP9, and he can just push in, get frags, get information, find out what the terrorists are doing, and it's fine. Him trading 1 for 1 in that position is not even a problem because he gets so much info, and Barbar can go in for seconds here into main and just wreck them completely with his MP9 because they don't have any armor and they are just cannon fodder to an MP9 without any armor.
Barbar with a nice 4K there. Space Soldiers keep feeding him kills left and right, trying to take him down, trying to do something to overwhelm him, but they just can't get the numbers in there appropriately. So Barbar gets himself a nice round there, picking up everyone on Space Soldiers with the exception of 1. And now we see our first gun round coming in, and for the most part, actually, none of these guys are going to take the risk on keeping them with an SMG. Barbar just ditches his, and we'll see most of them going up to rifles, with the only exception being Calais.
Yeah, this is going to be good. Hopefully, Space Soldiers can bring it back in this one. They have invested heavily into the round with AKs and buying everything that they can. Utility, not 100%, but it's almost there. So it's not like the most terrible situation. They're only missing a couple of mollies and maybe one or two flashbangs in total. So not too bad. And they start up with the opening frags. Pastor going down to 38, but Barbar here peeking aggressively, but Paz is ready for it on the other side.
Barbar sitting here now. It's all going to be a bit of a war of attrition to see who peaks first here. Even then, though, the player that's playing aggressively could hold up winning that one. Barbar has the health advantage initially, though, and with that, he's going to be able to take down Paz. Just barely, however, as he only makes it out of that with 3 HP. And yeah, they spray on the cross as Xantares realize he's moving back out. Even tapping away for this next kill here. Grabs it. Draken doesn't even know how to react to that one. He's been knocked out. And right now, this is looking like a clean sweep from Space Soldiers. In all honesty, Resonator and Freddy may already be thinking about saving.
Yeah, that was such well read by Xantares. He knows that the CT's not going to cross at the first time when the smoke goes down, so he waits like 5 seconds. Now he's probably crossing, starts spraying and gets him in the spray. So Xantares, his game sense is off the charts right now, and as you said, Res and Freddy B will be saving their weapons and, well, a bunch of utility as well, as they both have incendiary grenades and kits. So a lot of money being brought into the next round, but of course, Space Soldiers getting the round, and that's what they came for.
Freddy tapping away in the back, at the very least able to do a little bit of damage, but he's just lost his teammate. So yeah, if Space Soldiers want to try and crush the CT economy, they got to go hunting for him, and it seems like they're all in the chase right now. Pretty much everybody falling back. That's actually a great flashbang, though. Sends Despae back around the corner. But now more on the way here, too. And he'll fall to Despae finally when he is able to get out there without being flashbanged. Space Soldiers will pick up another round here, and they will start their own comeback. As we can see, however, the money for Epsilon still in a good spot. So they will be able to force, at the very least, into this next one. A couple SMGs, however, need to be brought into the equation, as you can see there.
So they're going to have 2 SMGs, 1 pistol, and yeah, 1 M4, and 1 AWP on Draken, of course. So not the best buy in the world. They have decent utility, though, so they might be able to force Space Soldiers into executing in the last 30 seconds or something like that. Space Soldiers also having a bunch of utility in their domain. DB playing close here in mid with the UMP-45.
Not really wanting to go all the way through with that push, of course, but then falling back into the vents. He'll probably hide around that corner there, waiting for the T's to go for their push, should we see Space Soldiers decide to follow through with that one. And also being here, of course, to apply any more of the smokes and whatnot to try and hold them back for a little bit of a longer duration of time. Space Soldiers, though, again, really not doing anything super interesting here. Just that same default lineup. You've got Despy, I believe, boosted up on the signpost there, watching for players pushing the back B halls. He's not going to move away from that since they're kind of approaching on that 1 minute mark, and now they're going to be able to form up for their actual hit, which currently is probably going to go over here towards A. Paz is already Squeaky ready to engage. Centauri is sitting in A main. You'll note it's a much more execute-focused T side from Space Soldiers here, whereas back over on the Epsilon side of things there, the player that was Rez specifically over in Squeaky there was always kind of peeking out on his own, wanting to try and take these 1v1 battles, whereas Space Soldiers, they're not really too keen on that. They want to go all in as the full team unit.
And that's what I like about the T side, is that you execute as a team, and you have, not to mention it so many times, you have to have some executes that everyone knows by heart that you can step back to if things aren't going well. And you can say right now things aren't going well at all for Space Soldiers as they get wrecked in A main. Paz, last man standing, and he's about to die as well.
Calais finding that one. Yeah, there's nothing really that Paz can try and do here besides lining up the headshots in that Squeaky position. They're all just going to try and defend things here and try to wrap around into A main so he does not successfully fall back. He's moved out now, swung the door shut. He's got himself a corner to work with, and he'll smoke it out, basically giving himself the best chance that he can hope for here to stay alive. But the door's been opened again, and he's out in the open for the flank. So there you have it. Barbar's decision to go around works out. No saves for Space Soldiers, and that reset, a saving force up as well for Epsilon. If they dropped that one, they would have been really much guaranteed to be going on to an eco there. It keeps their buys alive, and now they have a double opposite up too.
Yeah, and they're going to be facing off against the pistol round from Space Soldiers. Basically only 2 players who can afford to buy anything other than the Glocks. You have 1 player, Centaurus, at $1,500. So he's even going to be strapped for cash in the next buy round as well. So that's not looking good for Space Soldiers if they can't get their best player on the weapon that he needs. They'll probably actually even go for a drop. I can imagine them next round, Engine dropping an AK for Centaurus or something like that, and Engine playing on the Tech 9 instead. But let's wait and see. First off, we have this Glock train towards the A main.
And they're all going to be shuffling in just a moment here. But Calais already spotting one with the second up. 2 pickups for him. The third possibly in a moment here. But no, Barbar wants to chime in for some of this action too. 1 and 2. And he's even going to be able to hear Paz rolling in there. So that third kill is not going to be too much of a problem. Freddy, though, actually ends up stealing that kill. So a bit unfortunate. No 3K for him. But a nice even round for the Epsilon rosters. They go up 13-8. And this is that danger that I talked about, where obviously if Epsilon were still going to be able to take these gun rounds here, 1 round traded out, 1 up, and then they force them to win it again with like the 2 gun round victories already in this half. They have such a huge lead. This is basically going to be one of the last chances for Space Soldiers now that they go back to their investment here.
Yeah, and the 3 main players frag-wise for Space Soldiers are without head armor and any utility apart from Despair and 1 flashbang. So this is not a good buy for Space Soldiers compared to the couple of others they had so far. And if Epsilon continue the trend that they're building right now, this is not even going to be a contention because they have that double up setup. Calais has been playing perfectly so far on the back of the spawn side, but Calais makes a mistake in my opinion by going into that completely unchecked. And now Paz is in a huge position for his team to open this one up, but he does get wallbanged a bit, but takes no damage. Another one coming in from Paz. Can he pick up a third? Yes. Well, technically Engine will steal it away.
And with that, all of a sudden, Space Soldiers have their way into the bomb site. Zantari's waiting behind the forklift there, grabs Freddy, and the last man is Draken, who was looking to flank, but obviously can't really do that now. It's going to be Space Soldiers finding a 9th here, and now we just go on to Draken trying to save his rifle. Epsilon seem to have things under control, but all of a sudden Space Soldiers battle it back on their last chance to do so with minimal utility and just a very basic direct hit onto A.
Yeah, exactly. This was not a good buy and not that advanced of a strat either coming out for Space Soldiers, but Epsilon just gets surprised by the firepower. It all starts with basically Calais is forced back from his position at main, so he just draws in towards the door because he thinks, okay, this is going to be a full main push. But of course they have 1 player coming through the door as well, and Paz just gets a free frag onto Calais, then moves on into the bomb site, picks up the guy at NBK, and Engine pushes in as well, and he has a shutdown Draken as well. So no weapon safe for Epsilon, and we talked about a couple of rounds ago, the economy was not looking perfect either.
And with that problem still surfacing here, once again, the door swings wide open for a Space Soldiers comeback. Like we mentioned, it had to be on this round, but they have pulled it off, and only a 4-round lead here still. But as you saw a glimpse of there just a moment ago, Epsilon still had the money to rebuy.
They have the money to rebuy, but the problem is if they lose this one as well, that allows Space Soldiers to force them on a full eco. And that full eco will surely give the round to Space Shoulders as well, which means we could look, if they win here, at an 11-13 scoreline. On the other hand, if Epsilon turns it around, they are very, very close to winning this map.
So they already got Callie too, which is not a great start. Freddy's going to put himself in the vents. And again, for the most part, Space... I don't know what it is with Space Soldiers too, but I've noticed on these very mid-focused maps, they just like avoid it completely.
Yeah.
This is another case of
That
it
is
there,
true.
where they can keep devoting players. Rez is going off though right now. 2 kills for him. 1 in Sunroom, 1 under the player trying to cross to Sunroom. Despy goes down along with Engine, and once more, Epsilon get back quick control of that situation there. So letting these guys out in the open, and now that this is the problem with not going for that mid-controls, they don't have another angle to push in from. Thankfully for them, Epsilon do move away from that. And this will allow one of their players to sneak into the vent so they can go for it. But had someone stuck around here, as we can see with Freddy now on the inside, they're going to be able to deny that. And now all they have to push in is the halls, and Epsilon already know this is a factor. They've got players rotating into that one. Barbar is waiting in Z over there, although that's a bold move from Freddy. That's certainly not going to pay off. Tugux able to catch that very, very wide swing into the open there. He'll take him down. And again, it falls to Resonator to try and close most of this hit out. 1 more kill for him. Up to 3 now, but down low at 23 HP. He spotted the rifle, though, and I think he shoots the rifle a little bit to the right, I imagine. And Barbar catching that last guy alive. Epsilon will claim another round, and that's another reset against the favor of Space Soldiers.
And another sick round by Rez. You saw the video in the pre-show as well, where Barbar was talking about Rez, and he's such a huge talent, and he shows that he can not only rifle, he can also put out the AWP and put out big numbers, taking down 4 Space Shoulders players in such a high-pressure situation as well. This is very, very impressive coming out for Epsilon, and especially from Rez.
Double op setup's still going to be a big problem too. We've seen Draken able to wield it very, very well. Back over there on the A-bomb site, and looks like he's going to be playing it towards Whitebox this time to avoid any additional mid-pressure. And Rez, of course, as we've seen from the last round, very, very capable of holding it in the B-bomb site. There's not any area Space Soldiers can go where they don't have to deal with this one. They'll have to flood into the sites and hope to counter it out. But no, that's not what's going to happen here. Xantares goes down really early on here. An early boost, but Draken spots it at the last moment. And now he goes up, but there's Despy with the trade. Taking him out of the picture, trying to go for the player that normally hides in that corner there in the vents too. So attempted a pre-fire from Despy, but this time Epsilon don't have that guy positioned there.
So here we go, Despy. One of the players that has to stand out if Space Soldiers should take the win here. And so far he's not been bad, he's just been decent. And the problem is if a player like Despy isn't hitting like a top mark with their AWP, it's going to be very hard to compete against the likes of Draken and Rez and Callie when they're really firing on all cylinders with their AWPs. Because that AWP duel does decide a lot coming into the latter stages of a round. But Pass here, once again, trying to go through the door. Callie's without an op, so he's going to play the defensive angle. He's going to use his utility to block off the terrorist for just the time being.
Callie is sitting back here now, waiting for the push to come in, but oof, good adjustment there. He's almost caught completely in the open by Engine as they push up towards Highway. Unfortunately, crossing back over to Quad. That's where Pass is going to take him down. Here's Rez again, though. Has to support Barbar a little bit here as he is in an overexposed position, but no, Barbar leaps into the fray, goes through the smoke, finds the first kill, gets traded out. He has burned it down to a 1v2, though. The odds certainly in the favor for Epsilon here, but even they're going to play it safe now, not going directly up against that smoke there and pushing in, risking a lineup in Tugux. So they'll wrap back over through Z and decide to push up towards Highway instead here. Now they don't have any utility, no flashbangs or anything. This needs to be a completely raw retake. And they also don't really have a great idea in terms of where Tugux could be hiding. There's multiple positions that he could be playing from. Splitting them up now could prove to be a little bit dangerous, but they've just sent a player towards upstairs, so they should be set up for trades, but no! They push directly into Quad. Now Tugux has it isolated to a 1v1. Rez is going to try to push him with that timer getting so low, and Tugux just got to play with it. He lines up the headshot, and a big clutch from him again will save Space Soldiers.
That was a beautiful clutch by Tugux there, and his experience as probably one of the most experienced players on the Space Soldiers lineup really shows, because can you keep your head cool in a clutch situation like that? And Tugux can, and he just plays that perfectly, to be honest. Just waiting, and when he hears his footsteps, he just peeks out, steps out, gets the first one. He knows the second one has to be close by, so he's just checking the angles. He hears him as well, just rotates away and force him to run into his crosshair. Very well played positionally by Tugux there.
So Epsilon now still having themselves the big round advantage here, but they can't seem to finalize the equation to actually win out this map, as it has seemed for so many of our teams, of course. Yeah. They find themselves down on mainly just a Deagle Eco here. 3 other players picking that up. Nothing invested for Draken, and just a P250 for Callie. Callie's actually going to take most of the early attention here, but it's Freddy B that snags the first kill into Engine. He's been a fan, of course, of pushing an analogous from Barbar allowed into the mid garage. That's an opt-down on the floor. Certainly not something you want to be giving up to your CTs here. And a 5v3 advantage, too. Space Soldiers, well, they won't have much of a choice now that they've lost mid-garage control. They're going to have to go for a B hit, or apologies, an A hit.
Yeah, and they have the info as well, the CT. So right now they're rotated. They had 4 players on that bomb side, plus the AWP of Barbar that is picked up. This could be the round where Epsilon just takes it, and that is perfect from Barbar. Definitely saving this round for his team. 1 player remaining, that is Santares. Well, who else put Santares in a 1v4? But still, this is probably going to go to Epsilon on the back of what Barbar did.
This is a shooting gallery for Xantares, though, because they still need to actually peek out and take him down. I don't think Epsilon are going to be too keen on doing that anymore.
No.
And obviously we have the player wrapped over towards Z2 to catch him if he crosses over in that direction, looking to get sneaky to the guy on site. They still know he's there. He knows Freddy B is further back, and I think he actually suspects this last guy is somewhere on Highway 2. Unfortunately, without any utility or anything on that cross, the op is going to ring true, and we see that final kill coming in. That was a big play from Barbar, and it pays off hugely. If he doesn't push into the garage there, they don't have that gun to work with, and he doesn't just go ham on everybody on the site.
Yeah, they don't have the information either to make the quick rotations toward the side, because as we see, as Space Soldiers head towards the side, all 4 remaining players for Epsilon are already there. That's usually not how ZTs play this, but because the information that Barbar gets from that mid push, you can say, okay, I got nothing B hold, I got nothing middle, I can with 90% security say that they are going towards A, and then everyone just rotates. And he has the orb, of course. Barbar's great with the orb, and shows that in this one, making Epsilon able to get on 15 rounds on a full buy against a, well, Deagle armor buy from Space Soldiers.
Destiny's going to eat that nade right at the beginning of the round there when he tries to go for a pre-fire to the position at Z. Nothing even picked up in return, of course. And Space Soldiers, with this investment, will attempt to flood the A bomb site, I imagine, here. At the moment, still lined up to take it to either site, but this is still looking like it's going to eventually move in there. Barbar, though, he's been spotted by Paz, and he takes the risk on the peak again. Paz spotted that, and he is able to line up a position to punish. Also almost taking down Kale, too. Getting him to 2 HP. He needs help quickly.
Yeah.
So I imagine Space Soldiers will look to capitalize on this, and there you have it. Xantares lining up another Deagle shot, looking to find more. Was hoping for a peek from another player on the right side, but next looks like Epsilon aren't even going to go back into the site now. They're going to let them flood and play retake instead.
So, now in an interesting position, our Space Soldiers, look at that, that's insane from breaking. But they can hold the close angles with the pistols. Engine is on 3 HP, but with that Deagle, he just needs 1 bullet to get a kill. On the other hand, Santares is on almost, well, 68 HP, but he does have armor and an AK, so he's going to be the one looking to clutch this round for the Space Soldiers. Rez coming in with the first one. Now, oh, it's a second one as well for him, and this is pretty much done. There's no way that Tukix can clutch this.
If they don't push him all at once, though, he's got these guys very low.
Yeah.
There's the first one. The second one's out on the right side. He may be able to get that one. He misses the shot, though. He's being pushed by Resonator. He's going to get that headshot. And Freddy B2. He's got him so low, but no, you can't mess up this one. 15 versus 15, but Freddy, he's going to shut it down. He's got plenty of time for that defuse, and Epsilon will close it out here. 16-10 is going to be the final score. Almost an incredible clutch, but just missing. 1 more bullet would have done the job, and they would have been able to keep themselves in this match for a bit longer. Wasn't meant to be, though, and with that, Epsilon do take control of the first map there. They go up 1-0.
I was getting really scared for Epsilon there because they should have just pushed him, and at the same time that would have been no problem. But in the end, they actually allow him to get the chance to do the clutch. Luckily for them, in the end, it all pays off, and they get the defuse in and win their game 16-10. Well played by Epsilon, and we will be going into the next one, which is going to be Dust 2. And this is going to be interesting because Epsilon with the lead as projected. Now it's on Space Soldiers' turf. It's their chance to do something.
Yeah, absolutely. But Epsilon certainly showing, of course, that it is a 5-man team. It's a 5-man affair for all of them there. Really showing some good stuff across the board. Second half showing some superstars, of course. Specifically, Barbar in those last few rounds. Really good stuff from him, but still great performances from the rest of the team. And again, unfortunately for Space Soldiers, showing that there is a bit of a hero factor there with Xantares and some of the others, relying on them a little bit too much to save them in certain situations. And of course, to talk about this and much more, we're going to bring the analyst desk back into the conversation. Alex?
Hey there, cutie. How you doing?
Oh, doing pretty well. How about you? I ironed my shirt today.
I didn't. The hotel iron is the worst thing I've ever seen.
It's really smooth, though. It's like yours like really shiny and reflective.
Yeah, but it doesn't do anything. It's like I could probably not even cook anything on it, as if you would cook things with
Is
an
that
iron.
the determining factor?
Yes,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay.
If you can fry bacon with an iron, you've got a good one. There you
Okay.
go. Technical tips with Alex. But that's the first map going that way, and I think we'll go ahead and run with that point now, though. Thanks very much, Risk and Blue. The point you guys were making, and I'll make to them now here on the desk, is Halvor, of course, and Yuna joining me. It's the discussion surrounding the fact that Space Soldiers were much less of a cohesive unit. Epsilon, almost every single one, bar towards the end, whereas the closing point from Risk and Blue was that it was that too often were they relying on Paz and Zantares to bail them out of poor situations.
Yeah, too little. I thought for both sides, kind of weird that the fact that not too much mid control or build up to a lot of rounds. It was only Epsilon a little bit in the early rounds, but for the most part, it was just straight up plays towards A or B bomb site, and worked obviously better for Epsilon. Getting 8 rounds on T side without pistol is a great achievement, and they've actually been racking up quite a few big T halves in the recent past in their games on Cash. So solid stuff there.
Yeah, no, and just in general, you'd expect a team like Space Soldiers, seeing how they are an actual team, to the point where they've actually had preparation time for this event and everything, to not be the ones to actually play that game with Epsilon, of basically relying on executes. But we saw that on their T side of Cobble as well. They didn't really have, what it seems like a set default that would actually be a go-to move for them, or something that they could rely on efficiently, and that's obviously going to be an issue, and you see it play out in a big way because Epsilon's CT side just wasn't really tested.
Right.
Yeah, well, they started off like Epsilon did play more aggressive, I thought, than against Godsend. Something they did in the overtime against Godsend, pushing door, pushing A main. Kala did some really good efforts there, getting ball flashed in, getting 3 kills with a UMP. Bar obviously getting a lot of, well, let's say eco frags, but still. Towards the tail end of the game, he definitely was an impactful player.
We've seen him do this all too often as well with SMG, with AWP, with Rifle. Barbar is always going to be giving you some sort of aggression and spice in towards A main. But look at Kali go. We've seen him do the UMP A main pushes with every single time we've played Cash. He just sits around Fork, and I think, do we start giving credit to Epsilon for implementing this mercenary correctly? Like, I mean, it does seem like they've just given him, like, on CT side, you play this and do what the hell you want. I mean, is that the right way to approach it, do you think, Halvor?
I think when you have a player who has so much experience of just playing pro CS from the past, he can hobby into pretty much any role and
do it.
Not make a fool of himself. And I think that's the case as well for Kala in this situation. So he might not be playing his favorite positions or what he's most used to, but he's always going to figure out a way to be somewhat efficient with it, or not just be a massive liability to his team. And it's been working out really well for him so far. And you can tell that he's, I'm not sure if that's just him being more comfortable with it, actually moving about more on the map and trying to be more proactive in how he plays it on the CT side, but whatever it is, that's allowing him to go and basically be a bit of more of a nuisance to the T sides when they're setting up. Obviously, that's a great thing for Epsilon to have as an additional.
Still lapses from both sides. I mean, Space Soldiers losing a very crucial anti-eco round there to push Epsilon at 14, and then Epsilon in a 1-on-2 against Hugux, playing very individually, one by one, So there's still moments of not so greatness, quite the opposite.
Not
still
so greatness.
to be seen in this game.
It's a nice combination of words. Not so greatness.
I mean, Space Soldiers, for being a team that we talk about constantly getting better and better, they did have some very weird lapses of
judgment.
Lapses of judgment, just moments where it doesn't seem like they really have a good idea of what's going on, and especially
it's like someone disconnected all their USBs for a second.
Yeah, like all of a sudden headsets aren't working, or you're like connected to a different team speak. All of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, it's safe to walk in B, and then all of a sudden you have weird stuff happen, and that was the.
I know the round you're talking about, actually.
Yeah. So basically right after they went pistol in the first half, you have Freddy and I think it was Rez who finds each of their picks when Epsilon decides to force spy, but like the over rotation and then the immediate aggression, I think it was from Engine, who just drops down from heaven into Kala's lap for no good reason, while the rest of his 2 remaining teammates are on their way over towards the B-bombs. Stuff like that. It might not seem like the biggest thing, when you're 2 rounds into the game, but obviously it builds up to something, and it's obviously frustrating for his teammates as well to be like, well, why are you doing this? Like, this makes no sense.
Definitely some frustrating moments for both sides, but it was Epsilon who prevailed on their map pick. We can have a quick look at the scores to see exactly who was standing head and shoulders above the rest, and it does look like a rather even spread. It was Babar. Well, I don't know why I just pronounced it like that.
Babar.
Babar. Ta-da, it's Babar. 30 frags
or Rub
for
Rub.
him. Or Rab. I'm not sure which I prefer, actually, to be honest.
Well, like we said, he did get a lot of eco kills, eco frags, but still plenty of those. Still, I think I'd say he had his moments, had very important kills too there.
Yeah, no, he definitely had his
incremental part
well.
of the eco when they got
For
when
sure.
they hit 14.
Yeah, and not only that, but like a player like Barbar. Well, for us who are in the studio, obviously, we can hear both of the teams, but we hear one guy specifically a lot of the time, and that's Barbar. Yeah, and
can you guys, because you do this in the green room, can you reiterate some of the Swedish things he's saying? Because he's like, it's just all hype. It's all hype after every round.
Yeah, well, I guess if we don't translate it, I guess it's okay to say on stream.
Yeah, you can say your Swedish stuff.
Okay.
Is it rude? I didn't even realize.
Well, it's
is it cheeky? It's a little naughty.
It's nothing like aimed at space soldiers or anything. It's just like, come on, guys, we're so effing good.
Let's hear it in Swedish. I want to hear your Norwegian Swedish.
Okay, fy fan grabbar, vi är så bra nu alltså. Nu kör vi.
Oh yeah, that makes me want to play.
Yeah, there we go.
But
that's pretty much like he's a hype guy, and if the guy who's basically the catalyst to your team's mood and how basically just the feeling around the team. If he gets off to a good start, he gets everybody hyped, then that's great.
And you were saying that how much you value that in teammates.
I love that because you see it less and less. And obviously, Barbar and Kala are the two oldest guys on that team, and they come from an era where you went to BYOC lands. You literally sat this far away from your opponent, so you're shouting at people.
I heard you had some experience of this.
Hey, we haven't got time. I haven't got time for Halvor's story.
Terrifying stories about that.
Put that in your top pocket. We've got to talk about Dust 2. So, I mean, this is our next map, and I think just to return to the pre-match, or the pre-show to this, the prelude, was that you were suggesting that Space Soldiers could be walking into their own demise on Dust 2. You felt confident about this?
No, I mean, what we thought was weird with the veto from Epsilon, to be honest with you. I mean,
they give Space Soldiers this
they veto train instead of Dust 2. It felt to me like that's like the opposite of the logical solution. But, we saw them ban nuke against Godsend as well, so logic does not apply to Epsilon. So anything goes, I guess. But it does give Space Soldiers a good solid chance of equalizing because they are a solid team in Dust 2.
Waiting to see if it's actually going to play out the same way as it did versus Godsend. Win the first map, and then you get into the fact that you've kind of bumped up, messed up your veto, or at least gone with an unorthodox choice, right? But no, I feel confident in Space Soldiers going into Dust 2. They've just... You have no reason to doubt them, really, given their track record on the map and the fact that Epsilon on their end, sure, they have the individual players to make things happen for themselves, but if you play a very organized TT side on Dust 2, it's still extremely hard to actually find those T rounds, even though there is definitely room for individual players to bail you out here and there. Yeah. You still need the overall package. It needs to work for an entire half, not just 2 rounds.
Yeah, again, it comes down to the fact that you have the fallback plan on Dust 2 as well. I mean, if the usual catwalk with smokes pushes don't work, then you need to have something else. Maybe you take over long with creating that wall of smokes on long. You isolate pit, you try to take that over, then you take over short, then you split A, all that jazz. So, I mean, if you don't have it in your pickpocket, then it can become problematic.
And to go back to, to harp on to beat on a dead horse pretty much about Centaurs, really. We talk about how obviously he is the best player on that team, but on Dust 2, he just goes into Super Saiyan mode a lot of the time.
He goes borrow some of Existence's hair gel and just
pretty much
to go.
Yeah, and so compared to every other map, obviously he does well for himself on pretty much every map, but Dust 2 is like his home turf. So it's going to be really exciting to see what he can do to disrupt and bring Space Soldiers back into it.
And we'll leave it there. Space Soldiers have to get back into it. It is elimination. Both teams are in dire need of picking up this win. Epsilon 1 map win away from a rematch versus none other than Godsend, as they'll continue their battle for that major qualifier spot. Or will Space Soldiers take us into a third where things get a whole lot more interesting? We'll be finding out how the Turks do perform on their map, Dust 2, after our break.